What do you call a woman who murdered her own newborn baby, fed prisoners to wild animals, and made grown men tremble at the sound of her name? You call her Wu Zetian, the only female emperor in Chinese history, and perhaps the most terrifying ruler the world has ever seen. While people often think of Caligula or Nero when it comes to brutal rulers, Wu Zetian made them look like harmless choir boys. From 690 to 705 AD, she turned the Tang dynasty into her personal torture playground. But here's the twist. She wasn't just cruel, she was also one of the most effective rulers in China's history. So buckle up, because we're about to dive into the blood-soaked story of how a concubine became China's most feared emperor. Wu Zetian started out as just a low-ranking concubine to Emperor Taizong. By tradition, when the emperor died, she should have been sent to a nunnery. But it wasn't like other women. Her ambitions made Macbeth look like an amateur. Instead of fading away, she seduced the new emperor, Gaozong, Taizong's own son. The problem? He already had an empress and a favorite concubine. Solution was monstrous. She gave birth to a daughter, then strangled the baby with her own hands and blamed Empress Wang for the murder. The grieving act was so convincing that Gaozong believed her. Soon, both Empress Wang and consort Xiao were arrested. Wu personally oversaw their punishment, their limbs cut off, their bodies drowned in vats of wine, and their names erased from history. By 655 AD, Wu had eliminated all rivals and crowned herself empress. But this was just the beginning. Wu Zetian didn't just execute her enemies, she studied their suffering. She invented new methods of torture that became legends of horror. Her most infamous creation was human swine. Victims had their limbs, eyes, tongue, and ears cut off before being thrown into pigsties to rot. She also boiled prisoners alive in giant bronze cauldrons and perfected reverse hanging, where victims slowly died from brain hemorrhages. Wu documented everything like a twisted scientist, noting which methods worked best for men, women, or children. Her prisons became nightmares that could break even the bravest generals. Wu didn't rule only with violence, she ruled with paranoia. She created a secret police network so vast it made the KGB look tame. Anonymous accusations could be dropped into bronze boxes in the capital. No evidence needed. Husbands betrayed wives, children betrayed parents, no one could trust anyone. Even with spies spied on each other. Executions became public theater, nobles dined on roasted duck while watching humans torn apart below. Each animal had symbolic purpose: tigers for traitors, wolves for corrupt officials, dogs for family members who betrayed her. Victims often begged for the sword instead of facing her beasts. Why the 690s, Wu's paranoia reached madness. She executed over 100,000 people, exterminating entire bloodlines to eliminate even potential threats. Aristocratic families were wiped out root and branch. Scholars and poets were killed for metaphors she thought were secret codes. Even her own children weren't safe. She forced one son to commit suicide and had another murdered. Court life became Russian roulette. Every morning, officials wrote farewell letters to their families, unsure if they'd return alive. In her later years, Wu became convinced she was a goddess, the reincarnation of the Buddha. She poisoned herself with mercury pills, believing they granted immortality, but instead they drove her into hallucinations. She filled her palace with young male lovers only to execute them after a few months to preserve their beauty. She spoke with ghosts, built an underground tomb palace for herself, and ordered entire villages destroyed based on dreams. By 705 AD, her ministers finally revolted. Too sick and delusional to fight back, was forced to abdicate. She died shortly after, ironically poisoned by the very immortality treatments she thought would make her live forever. Wu Zetian murdered her own child, turned an empire into her personal torture chamber, and fed humans to animals. Yet she also expanded China's borders and promoted talent regardless of class. Her legacy is disturbing but undeniable, proof that women, when given absolute power, could be just as ruthless, if not more so, than men. So was Wu Zetian history's most brutal leader. Or was she simply the most honest example of what power does to humans? If you found this story chilling, stick around, there are plenty more psychopath rulers waiting to be uncovered.